I think I was too naive and inexperienced to know that I needed money to start my first business. If I'd understood the cost of marketing, hiring employees, and surviving economic cycles, I probably would have talked myself out of it. But at the time, I had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't thinking about how much money it would take. I was thinking about a problem I thought I could help solve. So I just started. I recruited a partner and we went after customers. We used the proceeds from the first few deals to fund that first business. And just a year later, a friend and I saw another problem we wanted to tackle. And by then, my partner and I knew a little more, enough to assume we would probably need to raise money for this idea. But we also knew we'd have to prove there was a market first. So we started. We got in front of people almost immediately to see if anyone would actually give us a credit card number to help them. Not encouragement or interest, but actual money. We obviously didn't get the strategy right out of the gate. We spent months investing time with very little to show for it. But then we had a breakthrough. We found a channel of customers that needed our services, and suddenly we had something we could scale. So we brought on a third partner with strong Silicon Valley connections. We thought he could help us raise money to turn this into a real business. But in the meantime, we kept working on incrementally growing. A year later, we had parted ways with that third partner and began a buyout that took another year to complete because he hadn't raised any money. What we actually learned instead was that this kind of business wasn't really fundable. But regardless of the opinions of investors, the business was working. It was generating cash. There were customers who needed our services and were willing to pay, so we kept growing. Today, that company employs 270 people, and it all started with $3,500, 2 laptops, and 2 guys who didn't know how money was supposed to stop them from becoming business owners. As the business became successful, though, we started throwing money at all sorts of ideas. We built our own internal customer management system. We started multiple other business. We launched new product lines. Because we had the cash, we hired people, built product, and marketed aggressively. And we ended up losing hundreds of thousands of dollars on multiple projects. It wasn't until we lost $400,000 on a single business idea that I led for almost a year that it finally clicked for me. There was a clear pattern in all of my successes and failures. The businesses that worked were the ones where we had to prove there was a customer pipeline before we invested significant time or resources. And that changed how I think about money in a business. Today, I get reached out to regularly by private equity firms. They want to discuss purchasing equity in one of our companies, and the pitch is usually the same. Hey, you can take some money off the table, and here's some extra cash to grow. They usually say, imagine what you could do with millions added to the balance sheet. But I just don't find that tempting anymore. Because the truth is, I don't know how to successfully deploy millions of dollars on a balance sheet. What I've noticed about myself and my companies is that investment dollars are a double-edged sword. They can speed up growth for sure, and they can also lead to sloppy behavior that wastes time and resources. When resources are constrained, we have to be scrappy. We're forced to find low-cost, fast ways to test ideas and figure out if there's a real customer in a real market. And when resources are abundant, it's tempting to just throw people or technology at problems before we're even clear what we're trying to solve. Which brings me to one of the most common obstacles I hear from aspiring business owners. I don't have the money to start a business. I think that belief comes from the idea that the only path to business ownership is buying an existing company or investing hundreds of thousands of dollars to build infrastructure from day one. And the truth is that money does make things easier, makes it easier to build something that looks and acts like a business. But it doesn't necessarily make it easier to build something durable that produces sustainable profit. I've watched many new owners spend months and hundreds of thousands of dollars dialing in the minute details of office space and branding while avoiding the actual harder work of finding customers, training employees, building partnerships. Money makes it easy to do a lot of busy work we can call business. It creates fast access to these trappings our friends and families recognize as success: polished office, a wrapped vehicle, maybe a billboard in the middle of town. But those things aren't usually what makes a business work. You don't necessarily need a lot of money to get started. You do need the willingness to work and the patience to prove something before investing in it. And if you're willing to do that, you might discover, like I did, that not having resources early on can be a blessing, one that forces you to build something stronger and more durable. If you get past the hurdle of financing being a limitation, you might get stuck on the next problem, but I don't even know what business I would start. So next week, I'll share some stories of how some of our clients have found great ideas and what you can do to follow in their footsteps. For now, just be careful not to let what you've heard about money or what you think you're missing become the reason you never explore what's possible. You don't need certainty at the beginning. You just need enough curiosity to do the work and see what you learn. That exploration alone will give you more clarity and conviction than sitting on the sidelines ever will. If you got value from this video, please like it, share it with someone it could help. See you next week. Cheers.